This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
Just ahead on Carolina Impact.
A Charlotte African-American neighborhood clinging together. The homes in the neighborhood falling apart. I'm Jeff Sonnier. Stick around. We'll tell you about the plan for rebirth here in Brook Hill Village coming up.
And video gaming represents a multi-billion-dollar industry, and these future developers get training right here in the Queen City.
I'm Sheila Saints. A celebrity chef in Charlotte went from living on the streets to being on national TV. We'll have his amazing story of recovery and how he's paying it forward coming up.
Carolina Impact starts right now.
Carolina Impact, covering the issues, people, and places that impact you. This is Carolina Impact.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. Brook Hill Village is one of those Charlotte neighborhoods that's often in the news for all the wrong reasons. Stories about drugs and crime and poor living conditions. All right near some of the city's newest and hottest developments. But now there's a plan to transform the old apartment complex into something that longtime low-income neighbors can still afford and be proud of. Carolina Impact's Jeff Sonnier is in Brook Hill Village with more on the turnaround. Jeff?
Yeah, welcome to the wrong end of South End. At least that's how some people look at Brook Hill Village, and frankly, it's not much to look at. From above, you see hundreds of simple 70-year-old homes crammed together, block after block, like some sort of giant monopoly board. And look closer, a lot of those homes are empty and abandoned. You've probably also seen and heard about the negative headlines here, but we actually came out here and talked with people who live in Brook Hill and work in Brook Hill, and they tell a different story.
We love. I like wild state. Everybody says wild, it's not wild.
I admire you, washing line.
How old were you when you came?
I was in the 4th grade.
Wow. And you've lived here ever since?
Ever since.
Good day for hanging longer.
Yeah.
And the washing line stands up all day.
In her 47 years here at Brookville Village, Selma Cherry has hung a lot of washing on her line, and she's seen a lot of changes, mostly in the other old neighborhoods around Brook Hill.
You know, down in Wilmore, Dearworth, building all these high rises. They're gonna build all the high rises, where people gonna go? If I could afford me a house, I'd be gone. No problem. If I could afford me a house, I wouldn't be gone.
But in the meantime, this is a good place.
It's a good place.
Yeah.
I enjoy Brook Hill. I've been here since '73. I had my children over here, and my children, they got their children over here. This been here since 1951, and this is like a historic place. If you really look at it, it's like a historic place.
That Brook Hill Village history is remembered here at the Gantt Center for African American Art and Culture. Brook Hill Matters is an exhibit that traces the neighborhood back to its black beginnings in the 50s. And there are these black and white pictures from today by photographer Alvin Jacobs. The faces of Brook Hill, living in places that haven't improved much since the 50s.
Now I see that you're in pain.
Do you think the city's kind of forgotten about you over here?
Yeah, because, you know, like, if they were thinking about us, you know, they try to help us, you know, they see people don't have nowhere to stay. They try to fix these and help them to fix these up.
Instead, too many South End developers take a long look at today's Brook Hill and say, no thank you. Too much crime and mayhem here. The homes too far gone. The ownership of the land too complicated. And then along comes Tom Hendrickson.
Again, if it was easy, it would have been done a long time ago. I see the dirt and I see the people. The buildings are just what happens to be here right now, and that can change.
But unlike other developers in other neighborhoods, Hendrickson's plan is to save Brook Hill Village. Not to scrap and scrape the whole thing and start over, but to make Brook Hill Village better while keeping it what it's always been. What the 1950 headlines called Negro housing, what today is called affordable housing. Simply a place to live where the rent is low enough when the job doesn't pay enough, where the stores and the schools and the bus lines are close enough, where someone cares enough not to push neighbors out, but to keep what's left of their neighborhood together.
You know, the problem here isn't the people, the problem here is the buildings. The land's at a great location. This is the last opportunity, I would venture to say, to have a meaningful number of affordable units in one location in South End ever.
Here's what Hendrickson is proposing at what he calls New Brook Hill, 324 South End style apartments with more than half set aside just for low-income renters and the rest for anybody else who wants to live here. All surrounded by new businesses, restaurants, and stores and offices. The regular apartment renters will pay up to $2,687 a month. But for low-income neighbors, their rent for the exact same apartment will be as low as $488 a month, which is pretty much the same as what they're paying at Brook Hill now for this.
The people will be fine if we give them a decent place to live.
You know, when you come in Brook Hill, you see people who are hardworking. You see people who have, for generations, created this community.
Reverend Ray McKinnon pastors the United Methodist Church that sits right here on the edge of Brook Hill Village, and he's working with the developers, just like he works with the neighbors here.
To say, oh wow, headline, you know, this place is cruddy.
To help undo Brook Hill's bad neighborhood reputation.
You know, nobody expected probably that 70 years from when they were built, you know, the buildings would still be here, but they are. And it's maybe the same truth with folks who call Brook Hill home. People might not have expected for them to still be standing, but here they stand, and I think we'll continue to stand.
You know, it's a place to stay, and it's portable for me. And it's a place I think it's portable for a lot of people over here. It's good for us, it's convenient for us, and I like it.
Jeff Saunier joins me now in the studio. And Jeff, talk to us a little bit. How important is this project to the overall issue of affordable housing?
Well, you know, Charlotte is short thousands of units of affordable housing, so a project of 164 affordable housing units doesn't sound like much, a drop in the bucket. But symbolically, this is a big piece of property, very close to Uptown, very close to the transit lines. And, you know, it represents partnership between the city and private developers. That's something the city really needs to go forward with in order to solve this problem. And the city's missed so many opportunities in the past developing land for affordable housing that instead went to high white collar projects. This is an opportunity to see affordable housing right smack in the middle of one of the hottest development areas in town. And it really sends a message to other developers that it still can be done if both sides are willing to work together.
What else is the developer planning in addition to housing?
Well, right now, you know, Brook Hill Village is like an island. You drive past it into work, you drive past it home. You don't go there unless you live there. The retail that they're going to put there, the stores and restaurants and offices, that will bring people into Brook Hill alongside the people who live in Brook Hill. And they're also negotiating, they say, with a healthcare client. So there's a good chance that the new housing that's in Brook Hill will also include, at least in part, some sort of a healthcare project that will improve the lives that way as well.
So what else still needs to be done to move forward?
Well, they need zoning changes. That's coming up in soon. But what they really need is money. They're about $15 million short right now. And that's where the city comes in. Again, talking about partnerships. It's not just funding from the city, but for example, these streets in Brook Hill Village, they haven't been paved in a really long time. And that's the kind of commitment that the developer is looking for right now. Cash to help get the project off the ground and into the ground, and also the improvements that other neighborhoods have seen for years, for decades, that Brook Hill hasn't seen in a very long time. So we'll see what happens. They have to go through approvals, but if those approvals do happen, as the developer hopes they will, then the folks in Brook Hill won't have to move. They'll have new homes right where they want to be, right where they've always been.
Always appreciate you sharing important information with us, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, what's a thriving industry in the current economy? The mobile gaming industry, of course, as more people spend their time and money at home on their smartphones and devices. The global gaming industry is worth more than $150 billion. The next generation of game developers want in, and training for that high-demand industry exists right here in Charlotte. Tonight, on our American Graduate Getting to Work series, Carolina Impact's Jason Terzis shows us where you can get it.
1978. the video game Space Invaders bursts onto the scene. 2 years later, 1980, Pac-Man becomes a worldwide phenomenon, with Donkey Kong debuting the following year. Video game arcades began popping up all over America. The gaming industry would never be the same.
I loved games. I played games all my life.
Some 40 years later, the video game industry is in the midst of another revolution, going from this to this.
Securing Alpha.
Technology was not ready, the graphic cards were not ready, the monitors were not good.
YouTube is one of the things that really helped kick it off.
Equipment got better and better, and then the software applications or the tools to create these tools got easier and easier.
Major advancements in technology, graphics, the use of virtual reality, and perhaps most of all, accessibility, have all been game changers over the last 15 years.
Who would imagine your telephone in your pocket becomes #1 console for games? And now we have thousands of games on your phone.
It's evolved from simply fun and games for players to a chance at winning real prize money.
Your Fortnite World Champion!
And for developers, a legitimate career as part of a multi-billion-dollar industry.
There are so many good games out there that you could learn languages, you could learn skills, and they're getting better and better.
You can add a blend to it, because if you add blend, you can actually make it a little bit reflective, but not as reflective.
Evie Kolstrand moved from Norway to the United States 4 years ago, enrolling as a student at Central Piedmont Community College's Simulation and Gaming Development program.
I actually came here to do computer engineering when I came here in 2016, but then I saw the Simulation and Game Development program, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. So I switched immediately.
Evie earned her associate's degree last year and was offered a dream job in the industry.
She actually got a job offer from Apple, and she turned it down to be able to teach for us.
Yeah, because there's a Lamberts too, so if you just hold shift and select all of them, you can add the same color to them.
Hired as Central Piedmont's first full-time female instructor in the division, Evie is now giving back to the very same program that helped train her.
It's really nice because I can be there for the students like they were for me when I was a student when I needed it.
Central Piedmont's program launched 15 years ago in 2005, the state's first approved associate's degree program in simulation and game development.
It was amazing because you could go get a PhD in music or even painting in universities, but there was no degree, even in 2-year colleges, for simulation and game development.
So then I created a bridge here from the crossover.
Already working in CP's computer science department, Dr. Farhad Javidi was tasked with creating the simulation and game development program.
We actually have 3 different degrees. One is in programming, one is in design, and the other one is animation and modeling. And we have 13 certificates and 1 diploma.
I've learned so much. Like, I went in knowing nothing. I was like, oh man, everyone's be so much more advanced than me. But really, you start out, a lot of people knowing nothing, just knowing they like video games.
This is the kind of setting you want, as far as like, you want to moon out there.
With the ever-growing popularity of the industry, interest in the program is at an all-time high.
We have over 600 students in our program, and program is very healthy. Our classes are full. The program is packed.
And how about this? All 9 of Central Piedmont's SGD instructors, full and part-time, are graduates of the program.
I don't know how I got here, but I made it.
Even students that I went to class with are also teaching now.
Not only that, this is the funny part. I have to beg them to come and teach for me because they have other opportunities.
And those other opportunities are plentiful. The job market is booming with a 21% expected growth rate between 2018 and 2028.
This could be your portfolio piece.
Oh yeah.
According to Payscale.com, associate video game producers earn a median pay of over $55,000 annually. Video game designers just under $60,000. Software engineers $90,000. With senior software engineers, developers, and programmers earning the highest median salary at $124,000. ZipRecruiter reports the average pay in Charlotte for all of these jobs is just under $76,000.
We have one of our graduates is working for Microsoft now and making over $200,000 a year.
A lot of people don't even go into gaming companies at all, but there's this side of medical simulations where you can help make programs that help students in the medical program like practice.
One of our students graduated and is working for Lowe's and creating 3D models of furniture for their online store.
Churning out job-ready graduates in a growing multi-billion-dollar industry while using its own graduates to train the next generation. Seems like a win-win on so many levels. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks so much, Jason. Here's an interesting fact. 26 of the 31 graduates of the program last May at Central Piedmont Community College were on the president's list. That means they carried a 4.0 GPA or higher. Way to go, guys. Congratulations. For more information on the program, please check out our Carolina Impact page at our website, pbscharlotte.org. Well, we all have a favorite toy from our childhood. For me, it was my Tippy Tumbles doll. The value of toy memorabilia may shock you. Remember when the Star Wars movie came out originally back in the 70s? Some of those action figures sold for $1.79 at the time. Well, that Boba Fett figure later sold for, get ready for it, $7,500. Collecting and selling toy memorabilia is big business. The pros in the biz are called pickers, toy pickers. Carolina Impact's John Branscombe introduces us to one.
I became obsessed with retaining my original childhood toys. Always had this longing for my Masters of the Universe figures, for my Star Wars figures, Transformers, my little video games. I had Nintendo, and I wish I still had that. My name is Lou Veloso. I'm the owner of Bergen Pickers, and what a picker does is essentially goes on the hunt for nostalgic items. You look for items that people want, that collectors are looking for. I'm definitely, without a doubt, in the nostalgia industry. I went into marketing, did that for 10 years, but I was just never cut out to be in the monkey suit. It was torture, but with that, the positives I took from it was, how to promote a business.
Hey guys, Lou with Bergen Pickers. Today we're checking out the Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle Damaged Imperial TIE Fighter vehicle.
YouTube is just fun. YouTube is where I talk about the things that I come across.
Unboxing, just a review, a little informational about what this toy was all about. Okay.
Neat items, like for instance, there was a wind-up roller coaster that I found. So I figured, hey, you know what? This is probably something that not everybody has seen, and it's old and it's cool. So I made a video of it. So one of the best items that we've ever found, that I've ever found, is what I call forgotten gifts. It's the best stuff. Original Star Wars toys from 1977, of which Boba Fett was one of them, and that was probably the best find I ever had, because it sold for a pretty penny, and it was $7,500. It's not common. I mean, I've been doing this for about 20 years, when it first started as a hobby in 1998 till now, and it's the only one I've ever found. It takes a lot of work and effort and research and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of mistakes, a lot of trial and error. You also deal with a tremendous amount of competition. There's a lot of word out there right now that, you're a college kid, you're a high school kid, you can make thousands every week. No, it doesn't come that easy. It's all about the right items. It's all about the right condition. It's all about what's in demand. There's a lot of mechanical things. I really enjoy anything mechanical and battery operated, like a 1930s Buck Rogers original wind-up tin toy. Teddy Ruxpin, which is making a big comeback now. So without the original packaging, $50 to $60. Did you just say Beanie Babies?
Yeah.
If I were Superman, Beanie Babies would probably be my kryptonite. Beanie Babies, we got so many calls about Beanie Babies, and because they were so popular, I understand why everybody thinks they're worth a lot of money now. It's what I call a manufactured collectible. It was not an original toy line like Master Universe, Star Wars. When it first came out, it was made to sell to you to collect. Those collectibles usually do not appreciate in value. Some do, not all of them. Beanie Babies, bottomed out big time. I would not recommend collecting for investment purposes. When you collect, do it because you love to do it. Do it because you have a passion for it. If you like baseball, collect baseball cards. Forget about the money. Just enjoy doing it. If you have kids, do it with your kids. People who purchase from us are guys that are looking for the items they can't normally find at an average yard sale, or out in the wild is what they call it. We can't find this rare thing out in the wild. I mean, as a kid, who doesn't have fond memories of playing with their favorite toys? It's like you don't want to grow up. You don't want to get older, So it's probably why I love toys, why a lot of people love toys. It's because you're looking at it, it just makes you feel like a kid. It gives you that excitement.
Thanks so much, John. The picker you just met is well known in the industry, so people often reach out to him. His website, on average, has about 600 items for sale, with prices ranging from $5 to $500. Well, if you're a fan of cooking, you've probably heard of the show Beat Bobby Flay, where the celebrity host goes head-to-head with chefs from around the country. The host often wins that contest, but a chef from Charlotte actually beat Bobby Flay, and that's only a part of this Charlotte chef's remarkable story. Carolina Impact's Sheila Saints has more.
Executive Chef Sam Diminich prepares the day's catch at Upstream Restaurant in South Park. He creates dishes using fresh ingredients.
She's a fisherwoman, so she harvests those oysters and those mussels. I found this honest connection with the ingredients. We always start with great ingredients to the technique and how we present it. We can sauce and garnish and then plate. You know, I'll work on something until I'm absolutely connected to it, and then it'll be ready for the dining room.
Getting a table at Upstream has been harder ever since Diminich appeared on the Food Network's Beat Bobby Flay, where he defeated the show's host.
I knew to be on that show and to have an opportunity to win. I didn't go up there to lose. You know what I mean? Did not go up there to lose. That I had to give it my best. And so whenever they announced it, I was very happy. Very, very happy.
The menu features the flavorful lobster risotto, and he makes a lot of it. Diminich comes from 3 generations of cooks. His grandfather started a seafood shack in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Then his family opened Italian restaurants.
We all worked in the restaurants. I started washing dishes, busting tables, and eventually I would cook. And I loved it. I was naturally drawn to it. It was fast paced. We listened to music. Very often we drank beer. Eventually it was a shift beer. It became something else. I always tell people I had access to excess, at a very early age.
It wasn't long before he had a drug and alcohol problem. But that didn't stop him from doing what he loved, cooking.
Cooking has given me everything, for the most part. It's the only thing I ever knew how to do.
He graduated from the Culinary Institute of America and worked at high-end restaurants. But the demon of addiction was never far behind.
Did I cook under the influence? Yeah, I did. Probably for 15 years to some degree. It was not uncommon.
Working in a restaurant is a highly stressful job. It also includes long, late-night hours, and sometimes that can lead to substance and alcohol abuse.
That was the narrative. That was everybody's badge of honor. Work as hard as you can, play as hard as you can, repeat, right? But as we've all learned, we've lost a lot of good people. That's unsustainable.
How common is it? It's very, very common. Probably more common than you would think.
A recent national survey on drug use and health indicates workers in the hotel and food industry have one of the highest rates of substance use. When Diminich hit rock bottom, his marriage failed. He lost touch with his children, and he lived on the streets of Charlotte for almost 1 year.
It had been a few months since I had seen my dad. Been like maybe 6 months, around that. I saw him at a gas station, and I was like, Mom, that's Dad. It's just weird to see him like that.
It's a low bottom story. It really is. But that was, what has to be said is that was a consequence of my actions, right? That's on me, and the decisions I made. And so it's not like I didn't have any place to go.
His life took a dramatic turn when he entered a long-term treatment program.
When I was ready to make an attempt to change my life, people were waiting on me, with open arms, no judgment, no strings attached. So what we're gonna do, so we seared the fish.
Diminich landed gigs at good restaurants, even TV shows. In 2018, Upstream Restaurant named him executive chef.
So you're gonna take it to the table, present it, and then remove the cloche, and then do a tableside pour.
It's always at a 10. It pumps people up, gets people motivated, so it's fun, it's exciting.
Now, he's paying it forward. He shares his story during a weekly support group for people in the food and beverage industry called Ben's Friends, named for a chef who committed suicide after struggling with addiction.
I'm a recovered person who cooks for a living, and so that's my priority. Recovery's been my priority, and then my family, my children, and then of course cooking. The life I have now is amazing. but I don't think I would have been able to experience what I'm experiencing now had I not gone through what I've gone through.
I know he's been through a lot and it was really hard, but the place where he recovered, we went there to visit for the first time and it was awesome.
I'm extremely thankful. Like, there's no other way to put it. Watching someone you love go from the very bottom to like very top of their career is just so cool. And it makes you very happy because I mean, that's my dad.
Literally waking up every single day, you know what I mean? And still being recovered, from addiction and alcoholism. That brings me joy every morning.
And it's joy that he brings to each dish every night. For Carolina Impact, I'm Sheila Saints reporting.
Thanks so much, Sheila, for sharing that inspirational story. What an amazing man he is and how he's overcome so much. If you'd like more information on the Ben's Friends Support Group for folks who work in the restaurant industry, you can find it at pbscharlotte.org under Carolina Impact for more information. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have this evening. We always appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you back here again next time on Carolina Impact. Good night, my friends.
A production of PBS Charlotte.